Hello, my name is Seth Hall, and this is my student Alex Hall. Today we're going to be getting your first keyboard lesson. Are you ready?
Yep.
Alright, so the first thing I want to just go over are the different instruments. I've got this nice handout here. So, as you know, we have various sizes of keyboard instruments. The smallest we have are the bells or the glockenspiel. And as you can see, it's made of steel bars, sometimes aluminum bars. It's transposing, which all that means is you look at the music here and you might read this note, but it'll sound like this note. So the bells transpose up 2 octaves, so 1F, 2, 1F, 2F. Make sense? Alright. The important thing to remember when you're playing glockenspiel is to use the right mallets. We can use brass mallets for a loud and bright sound. We can use hard rubber mallets for a smoother sound, not quite as bright and popping as the brass mallets. And we also can use a acrylic or plastic mallet, which is kind of in between the brass and the hard rubber mallet. Alright, any questions about the bells of the glockenspiel? No? Alright, the next instrument we have is the xylophone. It looks a lot like the marimba, except it's smaller, and it's made of rosewood or a synthetic material. The important thing to remember about the xylophone is, like the bells, it transposes. The xylophone transposes up an octave. So you'll read this note, but it'll sound like this note. Alright, and for the xylophone, because we're in a higher register, we'll use yarn mallets, maybe some rubber mallets, something that's going to be of a medium hardness, so you get a good response up here. This says Laxan, polyball, or rubber. Alright, we have the largest instrument now, the marimba. This right here is a marimba. And it's the same thing as the xylophone. It's made out of rosewood or a synthetic material in the bars. And very cool on this one, it sounds where it's written. So I read this note, and I play this note. So the marimba is our largest instrument. Common range is about 4 1/4, 4 1/3 octaves, all the way down from the low A down here to high C right here. And you can see how it's printed on there. Alright, the next instrument we have is the vibraphone. The vibraphone is almost the same shape as the xylophone, except it's made out of metal aluminum bars. And it's non-transposing, just like the marimba. And it has, if you look at these little bars right here, the vibraphone will have these little fans, and it's driven by the motor on the side that makes the vibrato sound, hence the name vibraphone. And the cool thing about the vibraphone, and what you can tell it apart from any instrument, is it'll have a pedal down here. And you press the pedal, and it releases a damper, and allows the bars to vibrate. And you lift the pedal to dampen it. And sometimes people will slide their sticks around. The important thing for mallets on this is a cord mallet. So whereas on the marimba we're using kind of like a yarn mallet of medium or soft, on a vibraphone we're going to use a cord mallet, and it's going to have a flexible shaft. See how this marimba mallet has the hard shaft? A vibraphone mallet's going to have a flexible shaft, so that way the vibraphone player can hit and then slide over to the next note. And then the range for the vibraphone is down from a low F all the way up to F. Alright, the last keyboard instrument you might see is actually the bells. We call them chimes. And the important thing to remember about this is it just sounds 1 octave higher, just like the xylophone. Has a pedal for dampening. And on this, instead of using a mallet, we're going to use a hammer on the chimes. Alright, so let me just briefly go over everything again. We got the bells and glockenspiel. Use 2 octaves higher. Use brass, acrylic, or hard rubber mallets. It ranges from G all the way up to C. The xylophone made out of rosewood. Sounds 1 octave higher. Use rubber or a hard yarn mallet, medium to hard yarn mallet. It ranges from F all the way up to an A. And then we have the marimba, and it's non-transposing. It sounds just where it's written. Very large range, all the way down from A to high C. And you're going to use yarn mallets from medium to soft, depending on the range you are in. Soft mallets you might use at the lower end, hard mallets more towards the top. Vibraphone, metal bars, non-transposing, has the pedal for dampening and the fan to make it vibrate. Ranges from F all the way up to F. And then the tubular bells of the chimes transpose 1 octave, and you use a hammer on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'll let you keep this. I know I went through that quite fast, so you just put this in your folder, and if you ever need to know, you can look through this packet. The important thing to remember is what does my instrument transpose up, and what kind of mallet should I use. The important, with these instruments, it's important to make sure you're not hitting it with a mallet that's harder than the material itself. So I'm not going to use a brass mallet on the marimba because I'm going to crack the wood.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and start playing. You ready to start playing?
Sure.
All right. So, holding the mallet. Do you remember how to grip the snare drum mallet?
Yeah.
Snare drum stick? It's going to be the same concept. So do it with me. Remember from snare drum, we find the balance point, the fulcrum, probably about right here. And then I like to think, stick the index finger out, press the stick in between first and second knuckle, thumb on top, and then wrap the 3 fingers around. Very good. Try it with your other hand here. Yeah. And keep these turned off, just like snare drum. There you go. Alright, so now hitting it, you also remember from snare drum how we always wanted to hit just off center to get that best sound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same thing with any keyboard instrument. See these resonator tubes right here? And see how there's a metal bar holding them in place?
Mm-hmm.
I always like to think about hitting right above that metal bar to get the best sound. Yes, excellent. And when we hit, stick starts up, and we're going to use our wrist to go down, and then use the wrist to also pull it back up. So stick starts up and ends up. Very good. So, every now and then, you might want to hit on the edge here. But most of the time we want to hit in the center. The only time you'll hit on the edge is if you're going to really fast stuff. You never want to hit right here where the bar is over the string. This is what we call the nodal point, and it doesn't give as good a sound as the center. Right. And you're a piano player, right? So you're familiar with keyboard playing?
Yeah.
Good. So down here we have the naturals, and up here are the accidentals. You want to give lightly row a shot?
Sure.
And remember from snare drum alternating stick? Same concept here, just try and alternate the sticking as much as you can. Make sure to get that stick up. There you go. I lost my place. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So overall, I saw you did really well at hitting all the notes apart from, just missing that last measure, which will give you another chance to do that. I think the main thing for you to improve on is just making sure, start with a stick up and make sure it returns back. Also you might want to move just a little closer so you're not having to reach so far to get up to the accidentals. Anytime we're standing on the keyboard instrument, we want to be standing up nice and tall, and the important thing is to just be in a place where you can reach most of the instrument. With the rumor, because it's bigger, we might have to take a side step to move to the other ranges. But most of the time, stay in the center, close to where your range is. Get that stick up to where you can reach very easily the naturals and the accidentals. So try that one more time. Think about getting that stick up and bringing it back up. It's okay. I shall start from the beginning. Go ahead. Good job getting those sticks up. E flat. Yeah, a lot better that time. There were still a few spots where you maybe got off a bar. You fixed that last measure, which was good. And I saw overall, you did a lot better job about keeping these sticks up. Every now and then you'll just let them slide back down. So always think about keeping them start up, return up. All right, good job. Do you have any questions for me? Nope. All right. Good lesson.